Last night, the Washington Commanders took a tough loss to the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football in Week 2. And today, that means it's Overreaction Friday. Today on the Commanders Report, we're going to be going over all the top kind of bold claims that I've been seeing out there on Commanders social media over the last 24 hours or so, and kind of break down what we can take away from this Thursday night loss versus the Green Bay Packers. And honestly, make sure you guys stay tuned because I got a couple bright spots from the film last night, some players that I thought were impressive and even some units that I thought played pretty darn well last night. So a little bit of positivity at the end, so make sure you guys stick around for that. But before we get into the content today, guys, make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already because we give you guys daily and free Commanders content. Also, breaking news content every single time the Commanders make a big move, whether they make a trade for somebody before the trade deadline or something else. We'll make sure to get you guys breaking news coverage. We go live every single week and for just about every single Commanders game this year. And then also, guys, make sure you click that subscribe button because it is 100% free to join. So if you love the Washington Commanders, you want a daily dose of Commanders news and rumors here on YouTube, you guys can click that subscribe button and join the Commanders Report family today. So the first claim for Overreaction Friday here, Jayden Daniels is officially in a sophomore slump based on his performance so far this season. Now, for me, guys, this is a clear overreaction. We know what Jayden Daniels is capable of, and we have certainly seen the flashes of what Jayden is still capable of here in year 2. Now, certainly, things have gotten off to maybe not the most especially consistent start for the Commanders offense. And yesterday, a lot of the statistics, second half, he pretty much had to throw the football for the entire second half. The defense knew he had to throw it, and, they were sending a lot of blitzes and doing a lot of stuff that, makes it really difficult on the quarterback to have success. And, that's why he had his worst EPA per play last night than he had since Week 10 when the Commanders lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. And, of course, that excellent pass rush again, a really good defense there in Pittsburgh. But Daniels had the highest pressure rate of his entire career at 46%. On 42 pass attempts. So, whenever you're passing the ball 40-plus times, you're going to be a little bit in trouble there. You're going to be playing from behind in the second half. And I think Jayden has shown throughout his career in his rookie year that he could, he can lead teams back in the second half from a deficit. It's just it didn't happen last night, and obviously things didn't go the way the Commanders wanted them to do. And, any quarterback, you put them under pressure 46% of their snaps, they're going to struggle. You look at the numbers between pressured versus non-pressured. It doesn't matter which quarterback you're talking about. We could be talking about Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady. Their numbers are going to go down dramatically. Really, the only quarterback in the league whose EPA stays positive when they're pressured is actually Lamar Jackson, all right? And he's kind of a unicorn in that way. So, it doesn't surprise me at all that Jayden didn't have the most efficient night last night. Certainly wasn't his fault. That Green Bay team's a really good football team. It was on a short week. I'm not necessarily worried about Jayden. But one of the things that I am, a little bit concerned about, at least to start this season, this was my concern during training camp. You guys know this if you've been watching the channel. I was worried that Terry's holdout during training camp, or hold in, whatever you want to call it, he wasn't practicing, was going to affect Jayden and the offense to start the season. It certainly seems like that's been the case. Even though Terry got some garbage time catches yesterday that boosted his stats, when the game was still live and well and it was still competitive, Terry, wasn't very effective. I think he only had 2 catches before garbage time yesterday. So, that's 2 weeks in a row there where he's only had 2 catches when it's actually mattered. So he needs to really get that connection going with Jayden Daniels, and the more time that these guys have to practice with each other, I think that it's going to continue to get better as the season goes on, but just sucks to know that that connection has not been going the way that we wanted it to go, and they have not hit the ground running here in 2025. But I still feel confident in Jayden Daniels and his ability. We've talked a lot on this channel about his kind of 3-pronged attack where he's so good in structure, he's really good out of structure, and then he's really good on the run as well. He still possesses all of those talents and abilities. I'm not worried about this team and Jayden Daniels' ability to throw the football, to run with the football, his ability to diagnose a defense and get the ball out on time, throw with anticipation, play in the clutch. All that stuff is still very much in the package that exists within Jayden Daniels. And when the rest of the team, I think, kind of coalesces around Jayden, I think that's when we see MVP caliber numbers for him pop up again. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Confidence level in Jayden Daniels at this point on a scale of 1, meaning not worried at all, he's going to be just fine, to 10, meaning this guy sucks, he's in a sophomore sophomore slump, I'm really concerned. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Ethos. And while I'm telling you about Ethos today, let me know your confidence level in Jayden Daniels. And with that, guys, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Ethos. And folks, the summer before I started working here at Chat Sports, my family unfortunately lost my late grandfather. And as you tend to do when you lose a loved one, you begin to think about your own mortality and what would happen to the people dependent on you if something were to happen. With today's sponsor, Ethos, your family is protected. Cassie and I are getting married soon, and shortly after that, I imagine we'll buy a house and start having some kids. If something were to happen to me, I want the last thing the people I love to worry about is being able to pay the bills. So I trust Ethos to keep them protected. Ethos is an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. There's no complicated process, and it's 100% online. There's no medical exam required, and you just answer a few health questions to get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos today. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com, ethos.com/NFL Daily to get your free quote today. Second claim on this Overreaction Friday. It's time to panic about the Commanders' secondary after last night's performance. Now, for me, guys, I am going to say that this is somewhat reasonable, okay? It was not good last night. Let's just be completely honest with each other here. There's multiple members of this Commanders secondary that just weren't getting the job done, plain and simply. And outside of Trey Amos, everybody in this secondary, or at least in the starting secondary, had a PFF grade. Not that PFF grades are gospel or anything like that, but every single member of this secondary outside of Trey Amos had a PFF grade below 40. I mean, we're talking about Emmanuel Forbes level of sucking from 4 of your 5 starting members on your secondary. Mike Sainristil with the worst of the night, allowed 6 catches on 7 targets. Not looking good for the second-year kid out of Michigan. We've praised him a lot on this channel. It was not a good game for him. Marshon Lattimore is kind of the person getting the most flack, 29.1, so not much better than Mike Sainristil according to PFF. Quan Martin got turned around multiple times by Tucker Kraft, a tight end of all people. And then Will Harris, who's supposed to be this team's box safety and Jeremy Chin replacement, got thrown around by Jordan Love and Tucker Kraft. I mean, he's just not big enough to be a strong safety, guys, and unfortunately I think he may have been miscast by Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. for this role in the Commanders' defense this year. Hope I'm wrong on that, but that's certainly the way it appeared last night against the physical Green Bay offense. So certainly, this cannot become the norm. They played a lot better week 1 versus the New York Giants, but, outside of Malik Neighbors, they don't have a whole ton at wide receiver. So now that they faced a legitimately talented offense in the Green Bay Packers, I am a little bit worried that, there's not enough firepower here in the secondary to get the job done. So hopefully these guys can turn it around. The third claim, though, on Overreaction Friday here, though, it's time to panic about the Commanders' pass protection after last night's performance. And I think this one is actually a slight overreaction where I think you can panic a little bit about the secondary. It was not good whatsoever. I think eventually this pass protection is going to get better as the season goes on. All right, Josh Conerly Jr., I expect to get better as the season goes on. Obviously these first 2 opponents that the Commanders have had to play, the Giants and the Packers, you can make an argument you had to face 2 of the maybe like the 3 or 4 best pass rushes in the National Football League your first 2 weeks without your starting right guard and with a rookie right tackle. That's a really tall order, man. So does it really surprise me that, the pressure rates that Jayden Daniels has had to face is what the reality is? No, but Sam Cosmi will hopefully be back soon. His rehab is going really, really well right now, and it looks like he's going to make a full recovery. And whenever he gets back, that's an immediate upgrade over Nick Allegretti. And then, like I mentioned, guys, I think Josh Conerly Jr. will get better as the season goes on. But this is kind of a good transition into our 4th claim today, which is that the Commanders should temporarily bench Josh Conerly Jr. to save his confidence. And honestly, guys, even though I still have a high level of belief in Conerly's long-term outlook, I think that this is somewhat reasonable. I would not blame the Washington Commanders whatsoever if they wanted to protect Josh Conerly a little bit here and allow him a couple more weeks to kind of prepare himself and get a couple more practice reps without having to, frankly, embarrass himself in front of what was a national audience last night. I mean, he went up against Micah Parsons, and part of this is offensive play calling malpractice. Cliff Kingsbury kept Josh Conerly Jr. on Micah Parsons one-on-one far too many times last night. That just can't be allowed to happen. But Conerly allowed 9 pressures last night versus Green Bay. That is just unacceptable. And a lot of times it was immediate pressures, like just getting beat off the spot. Obviously Micah Parsons, one of the most explosive first steps in the National Football League, but like it was an embarrassing performance for somebody that's supposed to be a very high caliber draft pick for the Washington Commanders. And then guys, it's not getting any easier. Next week versus the Las Vegas Raiders, you're facing another elite pass rusher in Max Crosby, all right, who lines up over the right tackle on pretty much every single play. So if you're asking me right now, do I have a high level of confidence in Josh Conerly to go up against Max Crosby and stymie him? No, I don't. I wouldn't be surprised if he gives up 10 pressures versus Max Crosby with the way that he played versus Micah Parsons yesterday, because Micah was not on the field for a lot of last night's game, and he still allowed 9 pressures in that ball game to a myriad of different pass rushers from the Green Bay Packers. So it wouldn't be shocking to me if the Washington Commanders decide to go with more of a veteran presence in Week 3, give Conerly a little bit of a breather, give him a little bit of a reset after 2 kind of tough weeks, and try to get him to kind of reset and start Andrew Wiley, because Wiley, former member of the Kansas City Chiefs, has gone up against Max Crosby. He knows what going up against that pass rusher is all about. Of course, Wiley was a starter for this team last year that went to the NFC Championship game. So I still have some level of confidence in Andrew Wiley. I still would expect Wiley to take his more than fair share of losses to Max Crosby, but at least maybe he would hold his own a little bit better than the rookie out of Oregon. So I don't know what they're going to do, but all I know is, Max Crosby versus whoever the starting right tackle for the Commanders is going to be. It's going to be a major matchup to keep your eye on here in Week 3. So let me know, or make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already, if you are enjoying today's show. If you guys want in-depth, nuanced Commanders content here on YouTube every single day for free, and you guys enjoy the content that we provide, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. The 5th claim on Overreaction Friday here today. The Commanders need to sign another wide receiver in free agency this week to bolster their wide receiver room. And for me, this is somewhat reasonable here, guys, even borderline just pure reasonable, because Noah Brown goes down with a groin injury, and frankly, Noah Brown has not looked good to this point in the season. He's dropping passes. He's not getting open at the rate that you want him to get open as your number 3 receiver. And when you got your number 2 guy is Deebo Samuel, who's not really a route runner type, like, you need another legitimate kind of route runner guy in there alongside Terry McLaurin, or else, defenses are not going to respect the rest of this wide receiver room. They're going to double team Terry McLaurin. They're not going to let him get open down the field. And, as much as I want to believe in Luke McCaffrey and Jalen Lane, honestly, Luke McCaffrey I would start over Jalen Lane. I mean, Lane could not get open to save his life last night as a receiver, as a speedy guy. McCaffrey had the 2 kind of catches down the stretch there that I thought I would trust him more to play the number 3 receiver role if they don't add somebody here. But the guys that are, on practice squad, Chris Moore, Ja'Cory Brooks, Jones, those guys I'm not super high on either right now. So if you wanted to go out and get a receiver, Odell Beckham Jr., all right, I think Odell can still be a decent wide receiver 4/wide receiver 3 while Noah Brown heals from his groin injury. Nelson Aguilar has been a really good number 4 receiver for multiple years. There's also Tyler Boyd, Jamison Crowder, super familiar with this organization. And then you got DJ Chark, another guy that could come in. So would not shock me at all after the Noah Brown injury if they end up adding a wide receiver at some point here. But then we get to claim number 6 here, and there's a lot of people calling for the head of Matt Gay after he missed 2 50-plus yard field goals by just a little bit last night. And, I think because of that, they're probably going to keep him. And I do think at the end of the day, this is going to be a slight overreaction. I understand why people are saying, let's move on. Let's try to find somebody else, because plain simply, guys, if you have a kicker in the National Football League and they're not making kicks, especially the modern day NFL, they're quick to let go of these guys and bring somebody else in. But Matt Gay, I think, certainly showed he still has the leg to make 50-plus yarders last night. It's just he was a little bit off. He hit the upright on one. He just missed the other one from 58. So I think that they're going to give him another chance. And I certainly understand why people want to kind of start fresh at that position, because there's just been too many misses to start this season. And, hey, if he makes even one of those field goals that he missed last night, it could have been a completely different ball game, and it could have kept the Commanders in the game for longer. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. He certainly needs to tighten up in the weeks to come if he wants to keep this kicking job here in Washington. But then claim number 7 here, guys. The Commanders are not a playoff team this year, and fans should be panicking. We had a couple people say this on the watch party last night. And once again, we started this video out with a pure overreaction. We're going to end one with a pure overreaction for me. I still firmly believe that this is a playoff caliber team here in Washington. I think you could make an argument about whether or not they're ready to win the division over the Philadelphia Eagles. But let's just take a look at what happened last year in the first 2 weeks, right? You play the Buccaneers, you get absolutely ramrodded by them on the road, just like you kind of get ramrodded by the Green Bay Packers on the road here in week 2, and then you play a really close game. You almost lose to the New York Giants, who ended up getting the number 3 overall pick in the draft, by the end of the season in week 2. So it was not a good start for the Washington Commanders last year, guys. Jayden Daniels didn't play particularly phenomenally in those first 2 weeks either. It took a little while for this group to get going, but then week 3 was the week where they really got going, and Jayden Daniels kind of had his coming out party versus Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Guess what? I think that the dynamics of this game here in week 3 versus the Raiders are very similar. The Raiders secondary is absolutely terrible, so you should be able to take advantage of that. All right, and then, if Jayden Daniels comes out here, plays well, hopefully the third game will be the charm once again for the Washington Commanders. Hopefully he and Terry can get on the same page with ample time to prepare for this football game. Hopefully Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury have something up their sleeves on both sides of the football now that they have ample time to prepare. It's not going to be an easy game. I will say that right now. The Raiders can score. All right, Geno Smith looked damn good in week 1 versus the New England Patriots. Chip Kelly, I think, knows what he's doing as an offensive coordinator. It's not going to be an easy game, guys. Even though you're at home, the Raiders, secondary is certainly vulnerable. It's definitely a winnable football game, but I certainly think that's going to be a good test for the Washington Commanders. Can't wait to see that one unfold here in week 3. But we'll finish up today's show here with some bright spots. These are some players that I thought on the film and in the stat sheet really showed out for the Washington Commanders. Trey Amos, I think he's our number 1 corner as we sit here today. Now, obviously, Marshon Lattimore has that moniker in the room, but I think Trey Amos right now is the best corner on the Washington Commanders, and I hope Marshon comes out and balls out and proves me wrong on that. But through 2 weeks, I think Amos has been the better player on the outside cornerback position, and he was the only guy in this secondary with an above 40 PFF grade, so kudos to Trey. Then you got to Dorance Armstrong, who had another very strong week as that Leo kind of true defensive end in this 4-3 under scheme that they run here in Washington. He's been really solid. He's setting the edge really well. He's doing a good job in run defense. He's actually getting after quarterbacks this year, which is something he didn't do at a high level last year. So he's taken his game to his next level. Kudos to him through 2 weeks. Then Zach Ertz. He's once again the safety blanket for Jayden Daniels, and for good reason. He's got great hands. He's so savvy. He gets open. Whenever Jayden Daniels needs an open receiver, he's going to throw it to Zach Ertz, and that happened certainly in the second half last night, catching that touchdown pass. And then Deebo Samuel, it was a little too late. I thought Cliff should have got Deebo involved earlier. Should have used him as a runner more often than he did. Should have used him as a screen threat more often than he did. And he kind of showed up late with some garbage time yards and touchdowns, which is nice to see. He had a nice kickoff return. But, through 2 weeks, Deebo Samuel's been this team's best receiver. So you got to get him more involved in the game plan, especially earlier in ball games. And then you got to Tress Way, the punter. He came in questionable to play with an injury, and he balled out, man. He had a phenomenal day as a punter. Honestly, kind of kept the Commanders in the ball game by giving the Packers long fields to work with at times. So certainly some good stuff from the Commanders punter here in week 2. And then another positive that I'm taking away from this game, guys, is the defensive front just in general. They got after Jordan Love a little bit better in the second half before they went up 3 scores. But I thought they really did a good job against Josh Jacobs in the run game. I know that the Green Bay Packers had a couple of offensive linemen out, but they had very high draft picks in relief for those guys. So, very physical team in Green Bay. I thought that the Commanders matched that level of aggressiveness and physicality, and I'm excited to see what this group's going to be able to do. It looks much improved from last year, and obviously that was kind of the main difference between them and the Philadelphia Eagles last season, so at least there's that positive to take out of the first 2 weeks. So predict it for me down there in the comments section. Will the Commanders get to double-digit wins this season? Do you think it's time to panic, and do you think the Commanders will put themselves in playoff contention? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. For me, I'm very firmly in the camp of they are still a double-digit win team. I still think they're a good football team. I think asking them to go to Lambeau Field on a short week against that football team that's probably going to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender, very difficult thing to do. If it was in Washington, it might have been a different result, at least in my opinion. But that's just going to be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for checking us out today. We did put out a Q&A mailbag on the channel earlier today. If you want to check that out, fans asking me questions from last night's watch party about the future of this team, what we can expect moving forward, lots of stuff, lots of questions and answers on that show. I'll put the chip to that one in the top right of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end of today's Commanders Report video. Until next time, guys, go raise some hail.